Hi, in my last tutorial we made a isometric grid and we were able to move around on it, and it works fine, but we used this string and the string parser to create the level, and so today we're going to make a level editor. So I've made 4 objects. This one is the floor grid indicator. It will show only the X and Y axis that our mouse is hovering over. The block creator will show the X, Y and Z axis, and the block type we will have up in the top right corner. It will show which block you want to create, and we need a layer object to sort the objects. So first off, we can just start by deleting the string and the string parser object, and we don't want to write the Z value, and we don't want to paste the tiles into the background and destroy them. We want those to be actives. So this here, this is we can put this in a group, create a new level, and we're going to make a new group that's called load level. So we can just copy this and just make some few adjustments. First, we're going to be able to save, make it so we can save. So when we press space, we will save the array. Files, save array, and use expression. We will save it in the folder that our application is stored by writing app path and a dollar sign plus and whatever you want to call your level. I'll just call it level. So now when I press the spacebar, save the level. So let's deactivate the load level and see. So now we're creating a flat plane with only grass, and we want to, when we create the tiles, we want to write the value of the sprite. We want to write 0 to the create X, and create Y, and here I set 0. That's okay. So now it has written the values down in the array, so we can deactivate it, or just press space to save, deactivate it, and activate the load level. So now if I run this, we need to actually write the value. We want to write 1, and we want to force the animation frame to the do nothing. So later we will, when we change the animation frame of the tile, we want to set it to the value of the array -1. Because now we're going to check if the value of the array at the position of the current loop is different than 0. So since it's 0 by default, we have to write 1 instead. Or something else, but 1 is easier. So on loop create x and create y, and on the C loop we're going to just do this. Create C is different than 0. We're going to start a new loop here, and this is going to be the create C, and the create C will start the create Y loop. So on the create X loop we want to start the create C loop instead, and that should be the C dimension. No, the Y dimension. Oh, never mind. The C dimension. Since we start the C loop, we want to start its C dimension times, and the Y loop we want to start Y dimension times, and the X loop we want to start X dimension times. So at the starter frame we need to load in the array, and this here, you can just copy this line and load array from a file at starter frame and use an expression and just paste it in here. This needs to happen before the loop. So now it will load the array file, and it will have all the values in there, and it will start loops according to how big the array is, and the array will increase in size when we give values to indexes that are not currently in the array, if that makes sense. So now if the value is not 0, since all the values are 0 by default, so if it's not 0, then it will create a tile, and here we want to force the animation frame to XYZ of the array, to the loop index X, loop index Y, and loop index C. Create C. And we want to, since this has a minimum of 1 value, then we want to subtract 1. So the frame animation can be 0. So let's test this. Nothing happened. Somehow it works now. I just deleted the old file, and I did exactly this. I deleted this, deactivated the load level, activated this, pressed space, and now you can see it's here. And when I activate this, it works. Also, I noticed that I had animation speed on my tile. It should be 0. So be sure to do that. So now we want to make the floor indicator and the block creator. We want to make them follow our mouse. So to do this, we want to give the floor indicator and the block creator some values, X, Y, and Z grid on both of them, and the block creator needs a block type, and that will be the value that determines what animation frame it should have. So it visually represents what we want to create. So let's get started. We want to first set the grid values. So just copy exactly what I write now, because this is really complicated. Just type seal. This stands for ceiling, and it will round the whole thing up to, it will round it upwards. So 0.9 will be 1, and likewise 0.1 will also be 1. So seal and 4 parentheses, then y mouse minus the level y start, multiply this by 1.0 to make it a float value, divided by the size, the grid y size, divided by 2, parentheses again, plus 2 parentheses, x mouse minus value x start, there, multiply by 1.0, divide this by the grid x size divided by 2, and divide all of this by 2, and then end it with parentheses. Here it's supposed to be 2 parentheses. So just copy all of this, and we're going to do the same with the y grid, except that here we want to have subtraction instead of addition. So now if we look at the values of the floor indicator here, it should be representative of which tile we're above. So it goes from 0 to 9 on the x-axis and 0 to 9 on the y-axis. So this is correct. We can just copy this over to the other one, and we also want to move it or place it relative to its grid side. So just copy this over here and delete these 3 and replace all the tiles with the floor grid indicator. Also, we can also do this on this one and just replace those as well. So now if I run the frame, this will follow the mouse. So it looks like it's not placed correctly, but that's because of it's behind the other objects. So we want to create a new layer and move those 2 objects to the top layer. So now they will always be in front of the other objects, but now it looks like it's on top of it. We want to be able to see if we're overlapping another tile. So let's make a new group here and call this create blocks. Here, if we want to check if the value of the position of this one, the block creator. So we will check the index of the X grid and Y grid and Z grid. If this is different than 0, then we know there's a block there. Then we want to set that, let's just set the RGB coefficient to get RGB red. So now it's red when it's above another block, and if it's equal to 0, then we just set it to green. So now once we're above a tile, it will turn red to indicate that it's obscured. Also, I noticed that this has animation speed, so I'll put that to 0, so it will represent the right tile. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's make it so that we can browse the tiles. So when we scroll up, we want to add one to the block type, the value block type. So we have the block type value here. We want to add one, but we have to use the set function because we don't want it to go above the number of options that we have. So we want to set it to block type +1, but we want to return the minimum value of the minimum value of 2, since we have 3 frames, and block type +1. So since we have 3 frames, we want to return at maximum 2, so 0, 1 or 2. And also let's change the animation frame of this one. Change animation frame to this one's block type. So let's see, I scroll up and I scroll through them, but we need to be able to scroll down as well. So when it's moved down, we want to just copy this and instead set -1 and the maximum value of 0 and block type -1. So this will prevent us from going below 0. So now I can scroll up, 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 but I scroll 1 down and it's fine. Scroll down, 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 and 1 up and it's okay. So we could just add those animations to this one. It's up to what you prefer. I'll just delete this. Let's see how this looks. It might look better, I don't know. Also, we want to be able to move the block creator on the Z-axis. So let's add a condition here to where we change the animations. If we're holding Control, we want to change the block type. So now when I scroll, it doesn't happen nothing happens, but when I hold the control button I can scroll through the tiles. Let's also force the animation frame of this one to its block type. So yeah, so when we're not holding the control button and we're scrolling, then we want to set the C value of the block creator to its C value plus 1 to the C value plus 1. This could go infinitely upwards, but we don't want it to go below 0, since our array can't doesn't have a negative index value, so we want to do the same as we did with the animation frames. Set it to max 0 or C grid -1. So let's test this out. Yep, works. So now you can see the floor indicator shows which block we're above, so we don't get confused and think that it's in the first grid now, for example. So we can scroll up and down. Now we want to be able to create a block. So when we click and actually let's create a flag for the block creator. Just rename this to abstracted is the name, the word abstracted. Let's set if abstracted is on, then we want to make it red, and if it's off, then we want to make it green. And here we want to set the flag on, and here we want to set the flag off. Let's test it. Works like a charm. So now when we click and abstracted is off, this means that there is nothing in that space. When we click the left button, we want to create a tile relative to this one. First, actually, we want to move this to the other layer where the player is. Position get layer. Move it to that layer, then create it relative to block creator, and then we want to move it back to the other layer where this one is. This is so that the tile that we create is not created in the same layer as the block creator, because then we can't interact with them. And then they would always be in front of the other objects. Also, we want to write to the array. We want to set. We want to write the block type to its x value, y value and z value. And we want to change the animation frame of the tile to the block type. So let's test this. I want to create a grace block here and here. Somehow it doesn't notice that it's obstructed. Yeah, because we want to write the block type +1. So now it sees that it's obstructed. So now we want to figure the sorting out, because this doesn't look very good when they're not sorted properly. So to do this, we want to have a 4th value on the tiles and the player. This will be sorting value, and this will be the sum of the x and y grid. I'll explain it soon. Sorting value. So this sorting value, we always want to set the sorting value to its x grid plus its y grid, and we want to multiply this by 10 because we want the player to there's a slight, I don't know if I can call it a bug, but if you move if you move upwards, or if you move up on the y-axis like this, and you move to a tile that's 1 higher, then everything is fine. But when you move from when you move downwards, or down on the y-axis up to a tile that's above, then the player and the tile has the same sorting value, but the player would be put behind the tile if we move in this direction. But if you move in this direction, then it will be put in front. So we always want to set the player just 1 point ahead, so it's always in front of the tiles that have the same x and y grid. So that's why we multiply this by 10 and just add 1 here. But for the tiles, we can just copy this and set the sorting value to the x grid of the tile and the y grid of the tile multiplied by. And then we want to sort by decreasing d value. That's, and if it doesn't have a d value, we want to set the default to 0. So let's test this. If I create, so the reason why they ended up behind is because we didn't give the tiles any values. So we want to give them the values of the block creator. So the x grid, y grid and z grid. So now when I create them, they end up in front, but we also want to add one for, or we want to add the C grid here as well. If not, this will happen when we create one with a gap and create the one below. Then the one below will end up in front, since they have the same X and Y value, but then they will have the same sorting value. So we want to add the C value to the sorting value. Do the same for the player, of course. Plus its C value. So now when I create one up here and create one below, the one below ends up behind. So now we can create different tiles. Water, sand, wherever we want. I will save the level. And when I start again, it will load them. But it set all the C grids to 0. So here on the load level, we forgot to change the C grids to the fast loop create Z. So now they have the right values that we saved them with. Maybe we want to delete tiles, since we can't. I can't create a sand tile here if I want to. Then let's just copy this and edit to the right button. When we right click and obscured is on, then we want to see if a tile has the same value as the block creator, same X grid, and the same Y grid, and the same C grid. Then we want to delete it or destroy it. So now I can delete whatever tile I like, and I can save the level. Yeah. When we delete them, we need to clear the value in the array as well. So just write the value to the index of, write 0 to the index relative to this position. Like this. So now when I delete tiles, I can save the level and I can load it again, and they will still be gone. And as a last thing, I want to improve the movement of the player. So let's just deactivate all of these and say when we're moving up, we want to set we want to create some new values. We want to move to X and move to Y. So when we press the up arrow, we want to set the move to Y, or move to Y to its Y grid -1. When we press down, we want to set it to +1. And same for left and right. We want to change the move to X to its X grid the left arrow it should be -1, on the right arrow it should be +1. And then we'll check if the X grid is different than the move to X, or the Y grid is different than the move to Y. Then we want to set a flag on, and this flag, let's call it move. So when flag is on, we want to check the value of the array. If the value of where we want to move, so move X and move Y, and its current Z position, is different than 0, but that means that it's there is a tile there. But if it's lower than 2, we know that it is not a water tile. Or lower than 3 now. So if it's lower than 3, we know it's not a water tile, so we can set its X grid to its move to X. And we can set the Y grid to its move to Y. We can set the flag off, and here we can just set the flag off. So let's test this. Now we can move. I can't move into that hole. I can't move onto the water, but I can move to the sand. Also, if you noticed, I'm moving diagonally. So now I press up, my move to Y is different than my Y value. It's here. So the move to Y is -1 and Y is 1. So that means that I can't move sideways, but when I press down, you can see my move to X changes when I click, but I can't move. But when I press down, I move diagonally because I move to X and move to Y. So let's change this. When we set the flag off, we also want to set the move to X to its X grid, and the move to Y to its Y grid. So this just resets it. If it's not a valid place to move, then it just resets it. So now when I press up, you can see I don't move outside. But we can still move up to we can still move up up tiles, but we can't move down them. So I'll fix that in another tutorial, but for now this is it. We can just delete these 4. So it was quite a messy tutorial, but I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.